These are the conversations I would have before you have a baby. Be very clear and upfront on your expectations of each other. How are you both going to proactively set boundaries with your parents who will inevitably try to put their expectations of child rearing on you both? Are you breastfeeding? Are you planning on being the only one getting up at night with the baby, or do you expect your partner to help out as well during night feedings? Who's going to get the baby ready in the morning if you're taking them to childcare? Who's going to pick them up? Who is in charge of finding the childcare? Are you okay with letting family members watch or keep your baby? And if not, talk about why. How are you going to parent your toddler? Think past the baby stage and think about how you two are going to be on the same page when it comes to parenting styles. Are you going to do the cry it out method? How are you two going to split the domestic labor moving forward so that this is equal and not just falling on the shoulders of the woman, which is typically what happens? Who's lead on that? How are you two going to stay committed to each other? Are you going to have weekly check-ins? Are you going to make it a monthly occasion that you two have a date night together? And if so, who's going to watch the baby? Family? Are you going to find a babysitter? Should you start vetting for that right now? Also, just think past 1 year, 18 months, because having a baby is a very short-lived scenario. You are going to have a toddler, a young adult, and a teen for a much longer period than you're going to have a simple baby. Granted, yes, babies are hard, but plan for further past that point. Talk about expectations now. Express them now. Do not leave them on the table unexpressed, because that is an open door for resentment.
And usually when I watch videos like this on TikTok, I go in the comment section, and the first comment in the thing, you can see the lady was saying something like, well, we did all of this, but still when I had the child, this and that happened. Okay, it's a lot of men can give you a child. So many men, if not all of them, can give you a child, but a few of them can be fathers. So bear that in mind before you go into bed with that guy. So some of the things that you need to consider, because you don't want to be trapped in a relationship where you're not getting help, you feel like you're alone and you just can't get out. So if I saved up enough money, children can be expensive, right? So save up is very important. Second thing I would like you to consider is, do you have a place of your own? If you're single, right, and you have a good job, I would say if you can, invest in maybe a 1-bedroom apartment, something that is yours, that has your name on it. But if you can't do it and you're not, stable enough to do that, then save enough money that you can rent. If anything were to happen, that you can do that thing on your own by yourself without a man. You have a great credit rating, because that is what you need if you have to rent. Okay, if you have to rent a place, I don't know about the US, but I'm sure a lot of people ask about it, your affordability and your credit rating. So these are some of the things I need you to consider before you even think about bringing a child into this place, and your life will be a lot easier.
Things everyone should know and have figured out before having kids. This will be a series, so let's start with the most obvious. Who is going to take care of the kids? Is it mom? Is it dad? For the sake of this series, let's focus on the mom. Do you want to be a working mom, or do you want to be a stay-at-home mom? And before you ask me which one is harder, I can tell you right now, that whole question is pointless. I've done it all. I've been a stay-at-home mom, I've been a stay-at-home working mom, and I've been a working mom. Let's start with being a working mom. When I had my firstborn, I went back to work and my heart broke every single morning when I left my son. Even though I felt extremely fulfilled in my career during that time, the mom guilt was unbearable, and I still felt like I just didn't have enough time on my baby. As a stay-at-home working mom, I just couldn't do it. It was too much. The Zoom calls with crying kids, I could not handle the amount of pressure of being at home and still working. It felt like working 10 jobs in one day. It was too much. As a stay-at-home mom, my heart is full. I love that I get to spend every single day with my kids. I love that I get to wake up with them, be here with them, drop them off to school. However, I also only have conversations with toddlers. The mom guilt is there either way.
So these are some of the things you need to also be aware of. You need to decide if you're going to be a stay-at-home parent. And before you do that, we are seeing a lot of videos on the internet these days about men coming out and talking about women riding on their income, men thinking it's a privilege. So stay-at-home mom, well, you need to discuss that with their partner, the person you're going to have the child with, okay? I would say get somebody else involved in this, because you can trust them, but at the same time, they are people, they are human beings, they change, okay? So you decide if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, then make sure that there's some pen and paper with some document somewhere that states that at this point in time, we both decide that I am going to be the stay-at-home parent taking care of our children. He said he was going to give me this amount of money at the end of the month, Do you understand? And we were both going to pay towards the kids. He promised me he was going to do this and that, because if you don't do these things, you never know.
I really need someone to tell me if having kids is worth.
It's not. And I'm going to explain why. It is not worth it if you are not ready or cannot mentally wrap your head around being a parent 24/7, no matter what. And that means if you have a loss in the family, if you're sick, if your partner is sick, if your partner passes away, if basically any unfortunate situation, you still need to show up and parent. It's not worth it if you are not ready or cannot wrap your head around that you will now become second. And when I say become second, it's not always, it's not forever, but at least for a specific amount of time until your child starts to get a little bit more autonomy. Their needs come before yours. It's not worth it if you have some type of, and you recognize some type of unresolved trauma, either from your childhood, past relationships, whatever the case is. It is not worth it if you have some type of unresolved trauma that you have shoved all the way down, do not want to explore, do not want to talk about, because I 100% guarantee you that that will resurface when you do become a parent. It's not worth it if you are only doing this because this is what my parents want, or this is what my husband wants, or this is what society dictates I should be doing. It's not worth it if you're trying to keep a man. Like, for real, parenting is one of the most realest things that you can do, because this really requires you to, like, it's not even a shift, like it's a whole new chapter. It's a whole new chapter in your book. Like, this is no longer, I am not the same Melissa that I was before I became a mom. And it's a whole new life. So if you are not ready to wrap your head around, like, my priorities are going to change, things are going to change, my needs, wants, friendships are going to change, relationships are going to change. If you are not ready to kind of understand that and go with, you know, the ebbs and the flows, then it's not worth it for you. It's not worth it for you. It is one of the most, to be a good parent, to be a good mother, it's one of the most selfless things. Not for a long time. That's why I have a thing on here, get yourself a life outside of motherhood. But it's one of the most selfless tasks that you can do when you're doing it right.
This person that you're having a child with going to be able to take care of the children? Will you be confident enough leaving your kids with this person if you were not there? Do you think he is capable of taking care of these children that you're going to be leaving behind in case anything were to happen? To invest a lot of money without returns, you're going to sacrifice a lot of things. Don't expect your children to give back to you. They didn't ask you to raise them. They didn't ask you to bring them into this world, okay? A lot of parents put so much pressure on their children. You need to become this because of me. And don't live your life through your children. Let them be. That's one thing you should be prepared to do. A lot of parents make that mistake as well. I want her to be a model, so you're going to be a model. I want her to marry and have children, so you're going to marry and have children. I want her to do... No, you should be prepared to be selfless. Being selfless includes this aspect as well. When they start growing up, let them be their own person.
So for all those who might want children but are on the fence, consider this. Are you okay with having a child who does not turn out to be who you want them to be at all? Because if the answer is no to that question, you are not ready to be a parent, and you might not want to be a parent. So many people were raised by adults who clearly did not think through this process, and as a result had very abusive upbringings. Children are the ultimate gamble. You do not know what you're going to get, and there's no take backsies. People only ever consider themselves as becoming parents to what society would deem to be perfect children. Neurotypical, smart, beautiful, obedient, whatever it may be. There's never a plan for what may happen if their child is neurodivergent or not able-bodied. There's never a plan for what should happen if something happens to your child and they're no longer able to be self-sufficient into adulthood. Are you prepared to become a permanent caregiver? When people consider having children, they're enamored by the idea of having a tiny person who represents only the best qualities that they have instilled in their child. And if that child dares to grow up and maybe lose some of that quote-unquote intelligence or early signs of being a gifted child later on in life, they're punished for it by their parents. So when considering having a child, ask yourself in true honesty and clarity, how would you feel about having a child that does not meet quote-unquote societal standards for success? And if you can vow to truly love and protect that child and not harm them, then perhaps parenthood might be for you. But you'll never truly know until you're in the situation. I don't know if you guys have gone to the Regretful Parents subreddit, but I feel like that subreddit needs several trigger warnings because it is very, very saddening. Now, huge disclaimer, I fully support having a space for parents to go and vent about the unexpected things that they did not realize are part of parenthood and that are currently plaguing them, because parenthood is so often glorified without an understanding of exactly what it entails. Unfortunately, however, a lot of the stories center around shame that parents have that their kids didn't turn out as XYZ. And sadly, a lot of these sentiments come from parents who are parents to disabled children, who lament being round-the-clock caregivers by saying things like, I didn't sign up for this. Which obviously connotes that they only signed up to have an able-bodied child, and that is it, that is all. They were told that parenthood only lasts until the child is about 18 years old, and they bought into that, but now they're being faced with the possibility of being eternal caregivers to their child that they were told was going to be eventually independent. And even parents to able-bodied children who maybe are just not out of the house yet, or maybe slow to become independent, are trying to find ways to get their kids out because they're supposed to be out in the world and no longer under their roofs. That Reddit thread is truly filled with every kind of story from every walk of life. But the one underlying theme is that they all seem to feel like they walked into parenthood not understanding that it was a lifelong commitment. A commitment to a complete gamble whose outcome they really have no say in. The amount of resilience required from a parent and ongoing love required from a parent is simply too much to be on the fence about that kind of decision. So if you're not saying hell yes to the idea of raising a child with unexpected outcomes, then it's a no.
I know parents who are just not happy with their kids because they are not pretty. Okay, they are not pretty, they don't fit pretty. They are not happy with their daughters. You need to be lighter, you need to be darker, you need to have curly hair, what have them. Because of that, they have issues with actually raising those children, and they don't have great relationships with them, which is really bad, okay? Because the intention of actually going into parenting was wrong in the first place. They had this idea, but it turned out differently. So if you're one of those people, please, don't do it. There's no need for that, okay? Enjoy yourself and enjoy your life. Don't go into that territory.
I really need someone to tell me if having kids is worth it.
Well, madam, to answer that question briefly, it all depends. You see, there's two ways to look at this decision. One is from the technical and financial perspective, and the other is from the emotional perspective. From the technical perspective, they are a horrible investment. You're going to dump all of your money in them until, well, I don't know until when, because mine are all grown and gone and I'm still doing it. And you're not going to get a penny back. That's just the situation that it is. It's an absolutely horrible idea and a horrible investment. Now, from the second part, which is the emotional part, they're the best things that could ever happen to you. With my children especially. They're all grown and gone, as I said, but they are the ones that gave me a purpose to live. If it wasn't for them, I'd probably be dead in a gutter somewhere, many, many, many years ago. And even now, to this day, they are my best friends. They're the ones that I want to call. They're the ones that I want to have a beer with. And I still, to this day, play Call of Duty with them, even though we're miles and miles apart. So, it all depends on how you look at it. Make your decision wisely.
You're going to put a lot of money into them, yes. That is part of the sacrifice. It's an investment, but There's no return. You're just creating your own people. That's all. So yeah, it's up to you. You decide because it's your life, okay? But make sure that you're well informed. You're coming in there with the right mindset, with the right heart. Do you understand? You're putting yourself at the back seat and you're putting them first. And if you're willing and if you're ready to do all of this, then why not? Try it. You can try it. Like my friend said, my first child was 5 before I had my second. And the reason being, I wanted to be sure if the person that I was having the child with, number one, was going to be a great father. And if they were not going to be a great father, I knew that I could take on that responsibility by myself. And I knew that if I had to raise one person, I'm able and capable to give them a great life. So go into this thing with that kind of mindset, especially if you've never had any child and this is your first child. Give yourself some time, see how the relationship goes, because a lot of men can get you pregnant, but not all of them can be fathers. Most of them have issues themselves, so I'm not saying that so we can go and bash men. You come in there with a mindset of, what if I have to do it alone? Am I mentally prepared? Am I physically prepared? Am I financially prepared to do this on my own? And when you approach this situation that way, you see that your mindset is going to change. You're not just going to be popping out kids and then having to live with regret, okay? You're going to do this with a plan on. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you liked it. And if you did, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe. And let's get us to 1,000 subscribers. If you can, share this video to whoever you think would benefit from watching this video. And I'll see you in my next video. Stay blessed and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.